The Circle Land Druid can be a lot of fun in D&D and Baldur's Gate 3, so this is our pure Land of the Druid build, levels 1 to 12, and a combat tutorial, as well as a few items you should equip onto your Druid. So let's begin with Druid, and of course at the starting level we get 2 cantrips. For these we're going to take Guidance and Thorn Whip. I think Thorn Whip is really good for pulling enemies off of places, and Guidance is an amazing spell to have basically from the start of the game until the very end of the game. Great way to just add 1d4 to your ability checks, works on all of them. When you trigger it in its concentration, lasts for 10 turns, so if you need to make multiple checks in a row within dialogue, Guidance is your best friend. When it comes to your ability points, I would have something akin to this: 8 strength, 14 dex, 16 constitution, 10 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 10 charisma. Now, you could theoretically bump this to 17 and your constitution to 15, like this, and that's only if you are starting from the beginning. If you are, please remember at level 4, for your ASI or feat, you're going to take a feat of Warcaster, and then that'll bump your constitution up to 16. If you aren't going to do that and you're respecing with the items I'm using at the end of the game, leave it at 16-16. For your proficiencies, take whatever you like. And we move on to Druid level 2. This gives us our specialization, and as I said, we are taking the Land of the Druid. This is a more spellcaster based Druid form, however you do still get your wild shapes and natural recovery. So replenish expended spell slots while out of combat. We get one more cantrip, and for this one we are going to take Shillelagh. And for your starting spells, we're going to take Healing Word, Ice Knife, Thunder Wave, Fairy Fire, and Long Strider. Now, you could throw in Speak with Animals, however there are a lot of scrolls and potions for this, so it might not be necessary for you, but if you do want to take this, I would probably replace Long Strider with it for now. But Long Strider is a spell, it's a ritual spell, so you can use it as soon as you leave camp, and it will not expend a spell slot. Fairy Fire is amazing, especially in the mid part of the game. Being able to see enemies that have turned invisible is such an advantage. Thunder Wave, one of my favourite spells in the game. Get to push enemies off of beams and all sorts, it's so much fun. Ice Knife is really good, the damage is pretty decent for a level 1 spell, and it makes a nice little frozen surface which enemies can slip on. And then Healing Word for the healing capability, and because it's a bonus action, you could cast this and then still cast a main action spell. Okay, we're now at Druid level 3, and we get a bunch of new spells from our passive features. Now there are multiple you can pick, and you aren't stuck with the one type throughout the game. You can pick and choose and they'll give you different things. So for example, Arctic gives you Hold Person and Spike Growth. Coast gives you Mirror Image and Misty Step. Desert is Blur and Silence. Forest, Bark Skin and Hold Person. Grassland is Invisibility and Pass Without Trace. We have Mountain, which is Mirror Image and Spike Growth. Swamp, which is Melts, Acid Arrow and Darkness. And the Underdark, which is Web and Misty Step. Now you see a lot of these spells do overlap. There's a lot of Misty Step, there was a few Mirror Images, that sort of thing. At this point, in my opinion, you want to take Coast and get Mirror Image and Misty Step. Both really good defensive and utility spells. Mirror Image buffs your AC up by 9, and every time you take a hit that misses, you reduce it by 3 until your Mirror Images have disappeared. And Misty Step is great for either getting out of danger or getting into a position that you need to be in. And because it would be a bonus action spell, much like Healing Word, you have your main action available to cast. Now when it comes to preparing your spells, I would remove either Speak with Animals or Long Strider, and I'll replace it with Hold Person, which is one of my favourite spells in the game. Basically you can hold enemies and you can upcast this to target more, and if they fail their save and are held, any melee hits on them become critical hits. So if you can land this and can maintain your concentration, this is a phenomenal way of just being a huge battlefield controller and allowing your partners, your fighters, paladins, barbarians, rogues, whatever, to do maximum damage. We're also going to take Moonbeam. Now this is another concentration spell, but 2 to 20 radiant damage, and it's amazing. Even if they make a save, they still take half damage. Okay, Druid level 4 now. We're going to take our next cantrip, which will be Poison Spray. And we're going to take our ASI ability score improvement and bump our wisdom up to 18. And our next spell here is Spike Growth. Now this is amazing, 100 turn concentration, so it can get broken, but you can shape the ground into spikes, and any enemies moved on it, not only is their movement halved, but they also take 2 to 8 piercing damage for every step they take. It says 1.5 meters, it's essentially every step. And this is such a good way to slow enemies down, especially in a choke point, and do a little bit of damage while your ranged characters, whether it's your rogue, your bard, your ranger, just picks them off slowly. Okay, we are now Druid level 5, and this gives us access to more passives. So this time our choices are Arctic, which is Sleet Storm and Haste. We have Coast, which is Sleet Storm and Cool Lightning. We have Desert, which is Protection from Energy and Hypnotic Pattern. Forest, which is Cool Lightning and Plant Growth. Grassland, Daylight and Haste. Mountain, Lightning Bolt and Flight. We have Swamp, which is Stinking Cloud and Vampiric Touch. And finally, the Underdark, which this time is Gastronous Form and Stinking Cloud. Now, these are some really good options. Underdark is a really good option. I think the Arctic one is really good as well. If I had to choose, I would probably at this point go with either the Coast, so Sleet Storm and Cool Lightning, or Arctic, Sleet Storm and Haste. Haste is a concentration spell, but it is an amazing spell. Most builds will have, or teams at least, will have someone with hasting capabilities. It's just a really amazing spell. If you want more DPS, Sleet Storm and Cool Lightning. But with the spells we have, where we have Hold Person and that sort of stuff, we could double down on the Arctic and have more battlefield control, so we can concentrate on Haste. Or you can go Sleet Storm, and I believe Cool Lightning is also concentration. So really, it depends if you want DPS or more battlefield control and capabilities. For this, I will take Arctic. And then for our prepared spell, we are going to take Plant Growth. Make weeds burst on the ground and smother the area. Creatures moving through the weeds have their movement speed quartered. This is phenomenal because it's not a concentration spell, so you can throw this down and enemies can hardly move. Not only meaning they're slow to get to you, but giving you more time to prep your spells, like set up how you want your turns to be. You could wild shape in that meantime, that sort of stuff. Really, really good way of controlling the battlefield. Okay, Druid level 6, we have Landstride Difficult Terrain. So we've become an expert moving through the wilderness. Difficult terrain no longer slows you down. Obviously we get our more wild shapes. We're not too worried about these. You are capable of using them because how wild shape works is that it will use your capabilities from the form you turn into. So if you turn into an owlbear, you adapt to the stats of the owlbear. It doesn't use your strength modifier. And for a spell, because we did not take it last time in our passives, we are going to take it here. Cool Lightning. So 3 to 30 damage, and it's a concentration spell, lasts for 10 turns, and we can keep calling it down in the same area without expending the spell slot, as long as we maintain concentration. So this is a great way of using one spell slot, but potentially getting 3, 4, 5, 6, whoever knows how many rounds out of it. Okay, Druid level 7, we now have those level 4 spell slots, and we've got a bunch more spells we can choose from. We also have a new circle of land passive to pick from. So as we go through these, we have Conjure Minor Elemental and Ice Storm. We have Freedom of Movement and Confusion. We have Blight and Wall of Fire. We have Conjure Minor Elemental and Grasping Vine. We have Freedom of Movement and Polymorph. We have Stone Skin and Dominate Beast. We have Blight and Grasping Vine. And then finally, Greater Invisibility and Dominate Beast. So, there are 2 choices for me here. First is Arctic for Conjure Minor Elemental and Ice Storm, or Desert, Blight and Wall of Fire. Both of these have very good defensive capabilities. Wall of Fire can do an insane amount of damage if you can place it up and make enemies stupidly jump through to have to get you. They can burn up before they even get you. However, we're going to go with Arctic for the Conjure Minor Elemental because we want another body on the battlefield, and Ice Storm is a crazy damaging spell. What this also means, if you really do want Wall of Fire, you can take it here as one of your spell slots. For us though, we're going to take Conjure Woodland Being to go alongside that Conjure Elemental, because you can have both of these at the same time. And what's really good about this is the Woodland Being can summon their own summon in the Woodwoad. So within this level, you now have access to 3 summons that will follow you around. Okay, we're now Druid level 8, we get another ASI, and of course you already know, Wisdom 220. And we have another spell slot, and for me there are 3 options. We could have Wall of Fire as mentioned. We could have Stone Skin, so turn a creature's flesh hard to stone. It only takes half damage of all non-magical bludgeoning, piercing and slashing damage. Lasts until long rest, but you do have to maintain concentration. Or Grasping Vine. Summon a giant vine capable of dragging creatures toward itself. And this is really good because it's a bonus action. So you can place this down, it will drag people towards it, and then you can do your big AoE like an Ice Storm or even an Ice Knife if you want to use some low level spells. Those sort of things. For me, we are going to go with Wall of Fire just to mix up our damage type. Okay, with Druid level 9, now we get a massive spike in power. We also have more passives. So, Arctic is Cast of Cone of Cold and Contagion. Coast is Conjure Elemental and Greater Restoration. We have Desert, which is Wall of Stone and Insect Plague. Forest, which is Mass Cure Wounds and Contagion. We have Grassland, which is Greater Restoration and Insect Plague. Mountain, Wall of Stone and Conjure Elemental. We have Swamp, Insect Plague and Cloud Kill. And we have Underdark, which is Contagion and Cloud Kill. Now for us, we are going to take Insect Plague and Cloud Kill. Simple reason being, Cloud Kill is one of my favourite damage dealing spells in the game. You can remove it every turn, and Insect Plague as well is a hugely damaging spell. Both of these are just too good to pass up. And what's really good here is that we have access to 2 more spells. So we can remove these 2, and we're going to take Conjure Elemental, so we now have 4 summons. And we're going to take Mass Cure Wounds. Okay, Druid level 10, we have a bunch of stuff such as Improved Wild Strike, but we also have Nature's Ward. So you can't be charmed or frightened by elementals and fae. Diseases and poisons no longer affect you. One more cantrip, so at this point take anything, probably Produce Flame. And for a spell, we're going to go with Greater Restoration, because we might as well have this as well as Lesser Restoration, just because it helps out. Druid level 11, we have our level 6 spell slots, and there are a lot of good ones here. Now, we're going to start with one of my personal favourites, and that is Hero's Feast. This lasts until long rest, so you can do this as soon as you leave camp. You and everyone around you can't be poisoned, diseased, or frightened. Your HP increases and you make wisdom saves with advantage. So this is a great spell to cast as soon as you leave camp. And then finally, Druid level 12. And there's really a few things you can do here. You can take an ASI and bump your Constitution up if you aren't going to use this guide for items. You could take Warcaster, like I said, at the beginning of the game, which means you'd bump your Wisdom up to 20 now. With the stats we have and the items we're using, you could either bump your ASI up to, or your Dex, sorry, up to 16, or Alert. +5 bonus to initiative and can't be surprised. This is the route I'm going to go down. And there are 3 really good options here for level 6 Druid spells. Wall of Thorns is great. Create a wall of pliable, twisted thorns surrounded by entangling vines. Creatures can move through the wall, but they take 7 to 56 piercing damage per turn, which is amazing. There's Heal, so that's a solid 70 healing. Now, while I do like this, I do think you get more utility out of a Mass Cure Wounds, for example. There's also Sunbeam. A beam of blinding light sears and blinds all creatures in its path. Till the spell ends, you can recast Sunbeam without expending a spell slot. Now, Wall of Thorns is really good, but I think you might get more utility out of using a Plant Growth and a Sunbeam combo, for example. So that'd be why I'd choose this. Okay, so that was our build levels 1 to 12. Now, I do have a few items you should equip. As you'll see on the side, I do have a lot of blank spaces. Now, there are some more optimal items you could use. For example, I would have the Shapeshifter's Hat. Unfortunately, I don't know where it is. I've seemed to have misplaced it somehow. But I'd have that. But for a cloak, Flesh Melter Cloak. Whenever a creature deals melee damage to the wearer, that creature takes 1 to 4 acid damage. The Armour of Moonbar Scheme. Gain 22 temporary hit points after casting Wild Shape. And in my opinion, despite the fact we are a spellcaster, I do think it is worth using your wild shapes to help you. And we get Lunar Fortitude, so +2 bonus to armor class. We also have advantage on saving throws against spells. Really, really good. I would have the Ring Regeneration, just so we get those hit points up every turn. The Amulet of Greater Health. Set the wearer's Constitution score to 23. Also have advantage on Constitution saving throws, which helps with our Concentration saving throws. And Marco Share. So, what's really good about this is Arcane Battery. We basically get a free spell. So, we're going to go into our combat tutorial and we'll show you what I mean by this. Okay, so as I said, before combat starts, you do want to set up your Hero's Feast if you've just left camp. And to do this, it's very simple. We would come into our spells here. We would ensure Arcane Battery is turned on. And they see they are purple, which means we get a free spell right now. And Hero's Feast. We could target all of us. And as you'll see, everyone's health has just gone up. And we have access to a bunch of free food in here if you're running out of camp supplies. Other things you're going to want to do before combat starts is to come into here and cast your Woodland Being. Now as you'll see, they all use the same, so you might as well cast it at the bottom level and get your summons going. So we have our Dryad. Now if you come to the Dryad stats, the Dryad can summon their fallen lover, which is the Woodwode. So now we have this, who is also resistant to poison damage, which means you can use your Cloud Kill and have your Woodwode stand in the Cloud Kill, smacking the enemies to really keep chipping away at their health. We come back to our lovely Druid, and we start upcasting, or not upcasting, sorry, but casting other things, such as our Minor Elemental. And let's get a Azure.
Got to be paying the mouth-sync fees.
Just like that. And now our little army is starting to come together. We have one last thing to do, which is to cast our full elemental. And you'll see there are lots of options here. You can obviously upcast this to get better. I am going to cast a water one when I can find a spot. And there you go, we now have an army ready to attack the battlefield. So let's go find some combat and we'll show you just how good this is. Okay, so to show you how good this build is, I'm actually going to do it without any other companions. So it's just our Druid and the summons. So you can see our Druid is actually right near the top because of our alert. So we're going to start with Plant Growth because this spell is phenomenal. And we know that there is a big old barbarian up here that we want to slow down. So let's put Plant Growth here. And there you go. Now unfortunately we somehow set everything on fire, so never mind. But what we can do is now strengthen our Shillelagh, which is technically what our club is, or our staff I should say, and there you go. What's really good though is because we have so many summons with so many abilities, we have a big powerhouse here in terms of our Water Myrmidon. We have Explosive Icicle for example, so we get to throw projectiles. We have Hemial Strike, so we get to chill enemies. We can warp. We can obviously fly, all sorts of good stuff. So let's start with trying to freeze an enemy, and we'll do the one in front of us. And there you go, you can see we only did 18 damage, but that's pretty good for just a basic summon on the battlefield. This isn't a barbarian, a fighter or anything, this is just a druid and his summons. Now unfortunately we will start taking some damage, but that's okay. We are still able to dodge some attacks as our Dryad goes flying. And there you go, we did 10 damage because we have shillelagh'd up our staff. Now theoretically we're not going to be using this too much, we are going to be casting spells for damage, but it is nice for instances like that, we have the opportunity to hit people for as much damage as possible. Now our Dryad is really good because they can entangle people if they hit them with their staff, as you'll see. And there you go, they are ensnared, so they can't really do much. So let's come over here, get ourselves out of the fire, and we can do things like Goodberry and start healing ourselves. We can strengthen our Shillelagh. So let's do this one. And there you go. Now theoretically we should have done that before, but it's give or take. Which does bring us to our Minor Elemental now. So our Woodwode is chilling over there. Our Minor Elemental has a few things. For example, they can do Overheat. Now they did their attack to trigger the fight sadly, but they have got things like Searing Smite. Lots of really good options. For now, let's just get Overheat going. And that just gives you an example of what you can do. You can really just torch a few people. Now the Woodwode is very, very strong and powerful. It has the ability to entangle and all sorts, so let's just come over here and you'll see how good this is. And there you go. Now thanks to our ring we have healed up, and what you'll notice is if we come over here, that's not the druid, my fault. With our person we are going to do some explosive icicles, so we're going to put this roughly here because I'm not too worried about friendly fire. And there you go, that is how powerful this summon is. Took out the whole of the sorcerer, has knocked the barbarian prone, and still has 117 hit points, and didn't manage to hit the Woodwode. So if you can place this, it's a great damage dealer.
Still breathing.
Now for our lovely druid, we are going to start showing off some more abilities. And we'll start with Hold Person. So let's just do it on 2 targets for now. On you, and on the Barbarian. There you go, they are held. Now, as long as we maintain concentration, and we do have the ability to have concentration saving throw proficiency, we should be able to hold this while our allies get those critical hits. And as a bonus action, we can come in here and healing word ourselves, if I can get the camera to work. Just like that. And there you go, see? Maintain concentration through those 2 hits. And as you see, we're taking we're taking many hits here, even in the fire, still haven't lost that concentration. And to show this off, how the crits work, and there you go. Every melee attack is a guaranteed critical hit against held enemies. As such. Now if we come back to our druid, if I can select him correctly, there we go. We're going to test out another spell, which is Cloud Kill. Now Cloud Kill is amazing, we're also going to put it on our allies, so here we go. And there you go. Now you'll see, some of these are immune to Cloud Kill, such as the Water Myrmidon. So you can flow this up and your summons will not take any damage from it. Really good way. Now unfortunately it did explode because of the fire, but we'd be maintaining concentration, they'd be taking damage, and as you can see it did wipe out the enemies here. Really good way. Unfortunately the fire has kind of ruined the demonstration here, but that is what it is. And if we really want to get out the fire, we can Misty Step, 2nd level spell, and just come to here. And of course our lovely summon can fly, so he can help maneuver the battlefield by getting himself into positions like this. And then really starting to damage deal. Okay, so if you don't want to fly anymore, we can Elemental Warp. So let's come over here with our lovely summon, and we're going to start throwing some explosive icicles at these guys. Now, unfortunately, I think we missed every attack then somehow, but it's okay.
I wonder if this is worth the cost.
Because what we can do is, unfortunately, we're immobile, so we can't do anything. That kind of sucks. Can we Misty Step? We can. There you go, so we can Misty Step out of our immobilization. Now, unfortunately, it has followed us, but it does mean we can come in here and do another Hold Person. Now, if we target both of them, it wants me to do 3. That's a bit sad, but okay. We'll waste the spell slot for the demonstration. And there you go. Unfortunately, they saved, but we have held this one. And even though we're taking multiple rounds of damage in this fight, concentration has not been broken on any of our spells so far. Now, if you do want to increase your defensive capabilities, Mirror Image, hit this, and there you go. And this will also help you maintain your concentration spells even further. If we come into this, our AC is now 24, and this will decrease by 3 for every hit that misses on us, so just bear that in mind. But we'll do a critical hit with our Myrmidon, and you can see the mass damage that they do. As you can see, we saved our concentration throw, and then the 2nd attack missed, and the 3rd attack here missed, so, and there you go, and as you see, the mirror images disappear, so now our AC is reduced to normal, but it really helps you keep on top of those concentration. Now, we do have more spells we have the access to. We can upcast, or sorry, just normal cast some spells like Ice Storm. This pairs really nicely with the Water Myrmidon. And as you can see, it does pretty okay damage. Now, unfortunately, they did save. If they didn't save, it'd be even better, but comes and goes. And of course, we get to do more critical hits. Okay, now don't forget, we do have some cantrips you can use, such as Poison Spray, and this is actually a big damage dealer, and this is a great spell to utilize.
Follows me everywhere.
Now, we just did 6 damage that time. We did 20 in the last attack on this one. And you can buff this with a spell, or sorry, with rings that actually boost your cantrip damage based on elements. So just bear that in mind. And of course, the Water Myrmidon is now down here, who was up here. Thanks to things like fly and elemental warp, you can maneuver yourself around the battlefield so easily. Now we're going to try more icicle, and there you go, 39 damage that time, putting them down to just 6 and almost the kill shot. And of course we can finish the fight off with another poison spray.
Time for mercy.
And that time 19 damage to show off just how much you can do with these cantrips. And now that we're out of combat, we use obviously a lot of spells there to show off how they are, but we have natural recovery, so we can come in here and we can start recovering some spells. Now that has been my Land Druid build. I hope you've enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments what you would change, what you do differently, what other items you would use, what spells you would take. If you have enjoyed, please drop the episode a like, it helps me amazingly, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next build. Bye guys.